explain.
Alright, so first off, I just want to say y'all better be glad you're getting this review, because right now I got Thanksgiving-itis and a shit sitting in me that's the size of Big Pun. But aside from that, for today's review, we gotta travel to the third worst place in the world next to Ohio and the trash can in my bedroom, the UK. Aww. But thankfully, it's for good reason, because the Grime MC Stormzy has returned with his new project, This Is What I Mean, being a collection of these poetic, harmonic tracks tapping into a more realer side of Stormzy that you might enjoy. Alright, so I want to start this off by saying that this is the first time I've listened to a Stormzy project, so before any of you little tea sippers start pissing yourselves in the comments, I'd advise you to get off my dick. But for the majority, this project is pretty alright. It gives a more pleasant and harmonic vibe that allows Stormzy to really shine and pour out his thoughts and feelings on his faith, reflection, and love. And although I'm not the biggest fan of the love and heartbreak songs because I feel like they're a bit corny, what I can say is that at least Stormzy was able to give these tracks some flair with his singing and solid flow within his bars to not make this a snooze fest for me. I think the one thing I'd have to point out though is the length on some of these tracks, with the intro, Fire Plus Water, being just a measly 8 minutes long, but still being able to grab my attention with Stormzy singing and a nice little feature to cap it off to make for a great way to bring an album in. But as stated before, Stormzy does get into quite a few themes in this project, criticizing today's generation and getting more into personal faith, which is cool, but at the same time can come off a bit preachy or corny even. I don't know, but when you have tracks like Holy Spirit being a full-on gospel song, it can kind of show the direction or audience you're pointing towards, and it's definitely not me. But for what it's worth, we do get tracks such as Need You and Hide and Seek that take the more Afrobeat sound and create some of my favorite tracks on this project, with both Stormzy and their accompanying features carrying us through this more somber and melodic album. But as for the production, for the majority it was just piano for the instrumentals, allowing the vocals from Stormzy and the features to really stand out, alongside a choir on the occasional track to give some life to the more emotional songs. But for what it's worth, we did get a few beat switches, especially with the track This Is What I Mean, with the background choir vocals working to help hype up Stormzy a bit, alongside some whomps from the bass, to then slide into this bass heavy trap sound that kind of drowned out the vocals in my headphones. But I don't know if it's just the mixing or if my headphones are just dog shit. Regardless, there's a problem. But as stated before, the gospel sound is used a lot throughout this project, allowing Stormzy to get more serious per se, with its organ, strings, and classic piano sound to help carry us through these tracks, giving me these wavy, melodic, and pleasant sounds that really help the accompanying vocals and can greatly give more meaning to the themes on this album. But just because we got taken to church for about 80% of this project doesn't mean that there wasn't a little bit of fun tossed in there, with the tracks Need You and Hide and Seek being my two favorite tracks from this project, not just because I'm a sucker for Afrobeat, but also with just how they utilize that sound for the features to really stand out and make these head bopping, dancey, groovy tracks that I really did enjoy. And then there were the features that were sprinkled about, but were unfortunately hidden, which make things 10 times harder when making this review you're hearing right now. But for what it's worth, I can't say that I'm very glad that these features showed up, because if I'm being just a little bit honest, they carried a good bit of these tracks with the energy they brought. I mean, I don't know what it is about Stormzy, but his monotone voice can really drag out the rapping on a lot of these songs, including my favorite, Need You. And it's not that he's necessarily a bad rapper, but what I'm saying is that the energy the features bring is definitely necessary for Stormzy's delivery. But if I had to single one out that I knew, it would be Sampha getting his own little track with Sampha's Plea, being this wonderful interlude with amazing vocals from the UK singer that makes me wonder why the hell he hasn't dropped another album yet. But aside from that, as stated before, the other features did their part, whether it being helping with the chorus or bringing in their own little verse to try and give these tracks some more flair that I feel greatly elevated these songs. But overall, this album was cool, but from my perspective as a non-Stormzy listener, it wasn't anything too crazy. Sure, it had its themes and direction it was going in, and it didn't really slip from either, but at the same time I feel like the subjects it touched on were something that didn't always hit into my lane, or was something I could have heard from someone else. So to put this on a scale, I'm giving this a strong 7 out of 10, being a nice refreshing sound for Stormzy fans, and something that kinda piqued my interest. But how do you guys feel about Stormzy's latest album? What would you rate it? Let me know down in the comments while liking and subscribing, follow my IG and Twitter, and follow Chocolate on Instagram for more illustrations. And on that note, I'll see you on Monday when I point and laugh at Team USA for losing to England. Peace.